Hi, I'm Robin Forster with FeelSoAlive and FeelSoAlive Informed. And today we're doing something a little bit different. I know that most of you know that I'm a solo entrepreneur and I'm fascinated with health and wellness and especially aging. And one of the things that I realized was that I was not breathing the best way that I could for my body. So, Dr. Melanie Carlone has agreed to come back and talk to us. She was here April 17th, and we're going to spend almost our whole time letting her talk to us about breathing and how we can take care of ourselves in a better way. Before I officially welcome her to the platform and turning the mic over to her, I just wanted to tell you all a little bit about her. She is a clinical physical therapist and a devoted health educator who draws on broad East-West integrated health approach. She's traditionally trained as a Navy physical therapist and founder of the Health Promotions Program at the National Naval Medical Center in Bethesda, Maryland. And she harnesses both sound scientific training as a movement specialist, alignment educator, and also neuromuscular pain reduction specialist. And Melanie is fascinating, as you all will see when we get into this. But she also was a former Peace Corps volunteer in Zaire, Africa, and she returned there to live and work in Africa and Asia for many years. So she has learned a ton about healing and alternative healing and alignment. So, Melanie, if you would say hi to everyone.
Hi, greetings. Pleasure to be here.
Excellent.
Thank you, Robin. Yeah.
Oh, I'm just so glad and excited that you were able to make time for us today. So, talk to us about breathing and alignment and what it is that we can do and the things that we're not realizing that we're doing that are not in our best interest.
Right. Well, breathing's so automatic that we rarely think about it, and yet it's one of the keys into your nervous system. So you can actually, a little kid gets a tantrum, he's going to hold his breath, and that will have results. When we're anxious and have rapid breathing, we can slow our breathing and affect a change in our bodies. So breath is an enormous tool that we have to control and regulate our nervous system. But the fact of the matter is that the way we live now, modern living, has done an awful lot to take us away from our natural alignment and how we would function if we were doing what we were designed to do over millennia, which is to be walking many miles a day, having brief periods of intense activity followed by a lot of rest. Most of us never know what that feels like anymore, although the great pause has made a difference with that. But now we're sitting more at computer screens and that sort of thing. So I wanted to focus our talk today specifically on breath and how altering your breathing and what modern living can do to your breathing can be causing an increase in anxiety and a general feeling of unwellness in people. So we're designed to actually have a very specific positioning of our rib cage. And so I'm going to go back and look at my friend here. In general, we have a very specific design of ear, over shoulder, over hip, over the front of our foot. And when that position is there, your rib cage is able to expand front and back and side to side with natural breathing. Then if you have to get on the run and you have to run after something or run away from something, you use accessory muscles to assist your breath, lifting the upper ribs and giving you that extra push that you need. Unfortunately, what's happened is many of us have fallen into the habit of breathing with our accessory muscles, which basically tells the nervous system, there's something wrong here. You need to be working. You need to be in alarm. And so there's an underlying chronic unwellness and sense of dis-ease or unease, I guess I would say, that kind of breathing engenders. The other really important bit is that, I'm going to grab my little skeleton here so you can see a little more clearly. When you have that normal alignment of ear, over shoulder, over hip, you have a gentle inward curve in the neck. Okay, so we're meant to have an inward curve. This guy has got a pretty straight spine. And when that curve is there, I don't know if you can see these little red lines here. This is a very important artery that runs on both sides of the neck called the vertebral artery. And it runs up from the arch of the aorta up into the brain. And it's one of the most common arteries that people have strokes in. There's a variety of reasons for that, but one of them is that posturally, when we're bending forward, peering at our computer screens, the musculature that runs at the front of the neck from here to here becomes short and tight over time. So when you see people walking around and their head is not over their shoulder, but they have a forward head, which is very common nowadays, that shortening here puts extra pressure on the vertebral artery that runs up to the brain, potentially increasing your likelihood for stroke. Also decreases the amount of blood flow, healthy blood flow into the brain, because when your head is over your shoulders, that hole inside of the vertebral artery canal there is maximally opened. When you're peering head forward and this becomes shortened, that all gets reduced. Add on top of that the accessory muscles that come from the top of the rib cage up to the sides of the neck that you're breathing with that you shouldn't be breathing with. When those are short and tight and activated, people really have a problem. So what do we do about that?
Well, how can we tell? How can we self-diagnose?
Oh, good. Thanks for asking. So let me have you, Robin, go ahead. Actually, let me shut this window. The sun is right in my eyes.
But it's so hard being in Western Oregon to ever complain about sunshine.
I know. I wasn't complaining. So if you take your hands, just lightly put your hands on the sides of your neck, fingertips on your collarbones. And I want you to just now relax your back and take a deep breath. In a healthy deep breath, you should really not feel movement under your fingers. Press a little bit firmer and feel again. If you feel muscles immediately coming up under your fingers, you're a neck breather. How is that for you?
Yeah, I'm not feeling it right now, but I'm also standing up and very conscious of what you're doing and trying to move my weight back onto my heels instead of onto the ball of my foot. And so I wonder if I'm getting my alignment better, and that's why I'm not feeling it.
You're also pretty conscious, so, you know, and you and I have worked together over time. I don't think that you are a neck breather. But somebody who has chronic forward head and is very shortened here tends to breathe with their neck. And usually you'll feel the muscles come up right away. Using your hands as a cue, if you do feel those muscles, you can really focus, it's easier to do when you lie down, on taking a deep, full breath and not having the muscles of your neck activate. So that's a feedback mechanism that you can use to start to break that cycle of neck breathing. Okay, so that's one of the ways that you can do it.
Excellent.
Remember, with deep, full breaths, you should feel those muscles kick in. So let's go ahead and take another breath again, fingertips here, and take a deep, full breath. And now sip in just a little more air. And as you sip in that last bit, there you're going to feel those scalenes kick in. Right?
Yeah,
and so what they're doing is they lie in the upper 2-3 ribs and they do that extra little lift. That's meant to be. You're supposed to have that, but it's only supposed to be when you're really pushing the extra tidal volume of your lungs. What happens very often, as I said, with poor positioning and chronic forward head and anxiety and all the stress that we have in our lives and our jobs, we tend to start neck breathing. And then that becomes a negative feedback loop. When you breathe with your neck, it's telling your body, uh-oh, the lion's coming, except there's no lion that you're running away from. You just feel like there is. And so that anxiety level gets increased and your sympathetic or your fight and flight part of the nervous system is kicking in. So being able to reduce overall that neck breathing can also really help soften or increase the parasympathetic, the rest and relax part of the nervous system. So that's a really important bit. That was a great question.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah. So decompression breathing. So I want to offer up, this is so interesting. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Having lived in tribal Africa, I was really privileged back when there were no cell phones and I was really far out into the bush, living amongst tribal, the Kuba tribe in central Zaire. The way of living was so different than it is here. And it was not uncommon for me to walk 4 to 6 hours a day. Working with farmers, I was helping raise tilapia, and we would walk, and I would watch these farmers on very little food, very little water, walk and walk and walk and walk. And the key was the elegance with which they walked. There was a relaxed, upright alertness. You never saw people with forward heads. You never saw people hunched over. Even elders were very upright because of this habit that we have of built within our bodies, our inherent blueprint to be upright and walking. many people walk in my clinic and I see right away where the dysfunction is because they're so far off of that mark. And so a lot of the work that I do is to help people get back to what's a blueprint is already in their body so that they can reattain that natural sense of ease in the body. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but usually just a little bit in that direction makes a significant difference in reducing pain. So one of the main things is how do we restore that length in the rib cage? So we're going to do a practice here called decompression breathing. And I want to thank Dr. Eric Goodman, who's a wonderful chiropractor who teaches something called foundation training. You can find him on YouTube. He's got a series of wonderful videos out. And this decompression breathing is not, you know, he teaches it very well. His YouTubes teach it well. I mean, it's something we all learn in physical therapy school, but he does a great job of it. So let's talk a little bit about decompression breathing. So if you want to, you're already standing. So I'm going to have you bring your thumbs onto your lower ribs and your fingertips. Let's see if I can bring this down here a little bit. Your fingertips onto the top of the hip bones. And what you want to do, our typical posture tends to be kind of collapsed like this. So I'm going to have you focus on inhaling. And as you inhale, you're going to lengthen your ribs out of your hips. So the front of the body lengthens. Importantly, though, you're also increasing your width front to back. So now bring your fingertips, your thumbs on your back ribs and your fingers on the front, and feel as you breathe in the widening of the rib cage, both top to bottom and front to back.
But not raising the shoulders, right?
Thank you. Shoulders have nothing to do with your rib cage. They are literally like a general's epaulettes. If you think of a general's uniform with those big things on, they just sit on top of the rib cage. And yet so many of us attempt to hold ourselves up or back using the shoulders. It's nothing to do with the shoulders. It's this feeling of lengthening front to back, and bottom to top. So with decompression breathing, you take really big breaths. So you feeling the back ribs flare, feeling the rib cage lift out of the pelvis as long and tall as you can. You'll kick in the neck muscles. And then, this is the exercise part, on the exhale, let everything relax, but stay long. That's where your fingertips in that position can give you feedback because you don't want to collapse them.
That is really challenging to do.
It's really hard to do. But interestingly enough, with consistent practice throughout the day, and there's another series of, I'm going to show you something called the founder position, again, that Dr. Goodman teaches, so useful. You can learn to move, to sit, to do the work that you need to do, keeping this length. Now, the beauty of learning this is that as you practice decompression breathing, the body learns to settle back into a more normal stance. And a lot of the downsides of being at a computer and what modern living does to us start to be reduced and ameliorated. It can make such a difference. Okay? So I'm going to stand up one more time.
Okay. And I'm looking at the clock because I don't want to overstay our welcome.
Thank you. Okay. So decompression, front to back, top to bottom, holding that, and then learning how to extend your body while you keep the length. Most of us do this kind of rounding, and this is where that forward shortened position affects breath. So learning to stay long, being able to move your arms and keep long in your torso can do a tremendous amount towards moving you back into the kind of posture that you're designed to have.
Excellent. Thank you so much. This has just been amazing. I appreciate all of your time and sharing your information with us.
You bet, Robin, and thank you for doing what you do. It really does feel so alive when you actually take it to this kind of level. So I really appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, awesome. Thanks.